Bye!
Hey, wait a minute!
I shook off my husband and jumped into the car. My husband spread his arms in front of the car, as if to say,
If you were going to go, you'll have to knock me down first.
This guy is such a narcissist. I had noticed it before, but I didn't know it was this bad. I rolled down the car window, and my husband turned his teary eyes toward me. Take care. I stepped on the gas and took off. I'm Leah. I am 30 years old and I work for a trading company. The company recently introduced remote work. Thanks to that, I can smoothly do my work from home every day. On the other hand, my husband Wade, whom I married 3 years ago, works in sales. Therefore, it is impossible for him to work from home, and he goes to work at the same time every morning. I met my husband through a mutual friend, and he is a divorced man who works for one of the famous enterprises in town. When I first met him, I was impressed by his youthful and refreshing appearance, which made me think he wasn't in his 40s. Our hometowns are both in the countryside, and we can't go back there so often. But during the holiday season, we always go to my husband's parents' house together.
Speaking of which, on our next visit, don't forget to prepare something nice for my mom, okay?
I'm dissatisfied with my husband's words. He takes it for granted that I will prepare souvenirs for his parents every time. It was the same the last summer. The problem is not that he leaves everything to me. Just as he has parents, I have parents who have taken good care of me. However, my husband only cares about his own parents, which creates feelings of inequality and dissatisfaction. Since we got married, he has never visited my parents' house, and he never talks about them either. In the midst of all this, he even leaves it to me to prepare souvenirs for his parents.
So, what did you get for my parents as a souvenir this time?
As soon as he got home from work, he asked me. I got a box of associate chocolates.
I think fruits would be better.
Why? Your parents really like sweets, don't they? I'm being careful not giving them the same thing every time, so it's not a problem.
Well, I don't like chocolate.
Huh? Whether you like it or not doesn't matter. This is a souvenir for your parents. I was thinking to myself.
But I can't eat chocolate. I wish you had bought something we could all share.
I know.
Why don't you send that chocolate to your parents? And you go shopping again tomorrow. This time, get something better, okay?
Although my husband usually doesn't care about my parents at all, he mentioned their names this time. Of course, I know he doesn't really care about my parents. And now he wants me to go shopping again. That's not fair. I have a job too. I bought the souvenir for his parents during my lunch break. Shouldn't be the first word be thank you instead? I was really mad. I'm not going.
What? Why?
Because I have work to do.
But you're working from home, right? You have time, don't you?
You are the one who works in sales and goes out, right? Isn't it easier for you to go and buy something then?
What? I wouldn't do something like that. It's unprofessional.
Really?
When we were dating,
you left work several times to come and see me, didn't you?
Well, at that time, I was young and...
I don't know what kind of excuse that is, but Anyway, I won't go shopping anymore. If you don't like what I chose, then go buy something yourself.
Okay. Then chocolate is fine.
My husband was angry and trying to rush to his room. Hold on a second.
What? What is it?
Don't you have something to tell me?
Huh?
How about saying thank you?
What are you talking about? I don't need to thank you for buying something I don't like.
Okay, then. How about saying I'm sorry for your insensitive behavior of telling me to send unwanted things to my parents?
What the hell, Leah? I'm not going to say anything like that.
Since we got married, he has never expressed gratitude or apologies to me. He used to be someone who could casually say those things before we got married. But it seems that he can't say them anymore now that we're married. He must have been hiding his true nature all along. I regret that I didn't see through it. My husband is a divorcee, so my parents were worried when we got married, but they supported my decision and sent me off happily. Now I understand why he got divorced. He lacks consideration for others. He completely underestimates my remote work job. My husband thinks that I'm just lounging around at home, but it's not true. My workload hasn't changed at all. It's just a location change to my house. He doesn't even try to understand that.
I thought you were an obedient woman. Don't disappoint me.
What? What did you say?
I said that you would listen to me, and that's why I married you.
Are you serious? Wow. My husband and I have a 10-year age difference. There are times when he looks down on me. But even with the age difference, we're still a married couple. I don't intend to stay quiet about things I can't compromise on. Well, you know what? I'm disappointed in you too. I might have reached my limit with you.
What do you mean by that?
How did it sound to you? When I answered like that, my husband looked at me and chuckled.
Leah, marriage is about supporting each other and living together. You can't give up after just 3 years of marriage, okay?
He's really the narcissistic type, isn't he? He's probably thinking something like, am I saying something cool? How can you talk about supporting each other? You actually gave up yourself, didn't you? Your last marriage didn't even last 2 years, didn't it?
It was all my ex-wife's fault. You don't know anything.
Well, I know, because I married to you, and I'm sure you have problems. I heard from my husband before the reason for his previous divorce was because his ex-wife cheated on him. He said she didn't even do any housework, and my husband did it all of it. But now I can tell that it's definitely a lie. Because my husband has never done any housework since we got married. He even leaves his dirty clothes lying around. Eats the food I cook while looking at his phone or TV without expressing any gratitude or appreciation for it. He doesn't even wash the dishes himself. Aside from ex-wife's cheating, it's an absolute lie that he did all the housework.
Don't act all high and mighty toward me.
And then my husband kicked the chair hard and ran into his room. I wonder if it's over. I can only imagine a future where we break up. He, who used to be kind, is nowhere to be found. Everything had already been piling up for the past 3 years. The dust had piled up into a mountain, and caused a landslide. The next day, when I woke up, my husband didn't want to face me and had already gone to work. And on this day, an irreparable event happened to us. My phone rang in the evening just after finishing work. It was a call from my mother. When I answered the phone, she told me an unbelievable fact. My father suddenly collapsed at work and was taken to the hospital. My father, who had a pre-existing heart condition, was in critical condition. I quickly hung up the phone, grabbed my car keys, phone, and wallet with my driver's license, and headed towards the entrance. Then I ran into my husband there.
Have you reflected on what happened yesterday?
You're in my way.
Huh?
My father collapsed at work. I'm heading to the hospital right now, so move aside.
I'm not moving. What are you thinking?
Just move aside.
Who should you prioritize here? Me, right?
Then my husband grabbed my shoulders with both hands and shook me roughly.
Your father has your mother, so he'll be fine. You're going to make dinner for me now. Got it?
While he was making what he thought was a kind smile, he peered into my face and laughed. Let go! Let go! I bit my husband's arm as hard as I could.
What are you doing?
This is violence. You started it. You grabbed my shoulders and shook me roughly too. Just move aside, would you?
If you really need to go, then fine. So you were just going to leave me alone like this, huh? Then you don't need to come back. It'll be a relief if I can save some living expenses.
This seemed to be my husband's sore loser line. Yeah, whatever. I don't plan on coming back anyway. Well, take care. I shook up my husband's grip and jumped into the car. Then, my husband stood in front of a car with his arms spread out, as if to stop me.
If you're going to go, you'll have to knock me down first.
This guy is such a narcissist. I had noticed it before, but I never imagined it was this bad. I opened the car window, and my husband looked at me with teary eyes. Take care. I stepped on the gas, and my husband let out a small scream and shrunk to the ground. Ignoring him, I drove to the hospital. When I arrived, my father had regained consciousness. He had a subarachnoid hemorrhage and had to be hospitalized for a while before switching to outpatient care because of the possibility of a second rupture. I explained the situation to my company and took 3 days off to accompany my parents. Then I returned to my husband's house and placed divorce papers on the table.
Leah, what are you trying to do?
You don't want me to come back here anymore, right? So, there's only one thing to do, and that's to get a divorce.
No, I won't accept that.
Huh? It doesn't matter if you accept it or not. I'm going to file for divorce.
Then I'll sue you for damages.
I don't care. As long as I can leave you. By the way, did you have any guests? Then there was a loud noise coming from my husband's room. What was that noise just now?
Huh? I didn't hear anything.
I stood up, and my husband stood in front of the room.
This is my private space.
Ignoring him, I opened the door to the guest room with all my might. What? Oh my God! In front of me was an unfamiliar naked woman.
This is a thief.
This is the first time in my life I've seen a naked thief. Hilarious. Yes, I caught my husband cheating on me right on the spot. I immediately took a photo of the scene as evidence with my smartphone. After I caught him with the evidence, he paid me alimony and we got divorced. My life has been stress-free since the divorce. According to my ex-in-laws, my ex-husband resigned from his company on his own accord. The woman he cheated on me with turned out to be his boss's wife. In fact, she had been seducing him for a while, but they had never crossed the line until that day. However, the day before, my ex-husband had a fight with me and was angry, so he took her to our house to vent his frustration. It was a perfect timing for me, the wife, to witness my husband's first infidelity. Thanks to that, the divorce went smoother than expected. So I'm a little grateful to my ex-husband for that. Of course, I also demanded alimony from his mistress, and she used her husband's money to secretly pay me. But when her husband, my ex-husband's boss, saw the payment history, he confronted her, and the affair became known to my ex-husband's boss. It seems like it became a big rumor within the company, and my ex-husband couldn't bear the atmosphere, so he resigned. He was also almost disowned by his parents, so he had no one to rely on, and is now barely making ends meet, doing odd jobs. I truly believe in karma. After my father was discharged from the hospital, I returned to my parents' house and continued working. I had been trying to stay strong in front of my ex-husband, but I'm honestly quite hurt. I'll keep working hard until the day wounds heals. And when someone nice and caring comes into my life again, I'll take the plunge without fear.
Huh? A part-time job? What kind of poor family are you from? Like this, my mother-in-law Dolores laughed and disrespected my mother by saying such horrible things. I can't ever forgive Dolores for saying such things. How dare she insult my precious, loving mother? I will definitely make Dolores fully regret what she said about my mother, and even making fun of my mother. My name is Maisie. I am 30 years old, and I work in a company. I have been married to my husband Kyle for 2 years now. We first met due to work. My husband is a very honest and diligent worker, and I relied on him a great deal when we had to work together. As we worked together, I became more and more attracted to him, and we grew much closer through our work. We started seeing each other privately and officially began to go out. He planned many wonderful dates for me and took me to many places. I was happy that he took the time to do so much research and planning wonderful dates, and I grew to like him more and more. Then, 2 years into our relationship, he proposed to me, and we decided to get married. I was so happy that he, whom I loved so much, asked me to marry him. After we married, we started living together, and my husband was very kind and supportive, and did his share of the house chores with me. And because of this, it allowed me to concentrate on my work. My husband also cooks whenever he has the time, which is really helpful. My husband and I both work, so thanks to this, we have a very stable lifestyle. And we have a lot of fun while traveling around on our days off. Even after 2 years of marriage, we are still very much in love, and we are both really happy. But of course, there are some problems, even though it has nothing to do with my husband. For me, the issue I have is my mother-in-law, Dolores. Unfortunately, Dolores does not seem to like me, and she has been picking on me every time I see her since the beginning of my marriage to Kyle.
Oh, Maisie, when are you going to quit your job?
Huh? I have no intention to quit my job.
And why is that?
Normally, a wife should become a full-time housewife just to support her husband. Oh, please! Don't tell me that you make Kyle do some of the house chores. What? Well, we both work, so of course. We share the house chores.
I cannot believe this. I would never allow such a thing.
Dolores shouted from the top of her lungs as she said that. In a panic, my husband flew in and said, "Mom, what's going on?" and came into our conversation. And after understanding what had happened, he says to Dolores, "I was the one who agreed to the idea of sharing the house chores with Maisie. Please, don't butt into our marriage, Mom." And from then on, Dolores stopped talking. But after that, Dolores became even more harsh and strict to me.
I knew that people who skip house chores are not very good at it. You're definitely bothering Kyle by cooking terrible meals, aren't you? Do you even put poison into the meals that you cook, or what?
Whenever I visit my in-laws for Thanksgivings or New Year's and help Dolores with the cooking, she always insults me in the kitchen like that. I thought it was really annoying, but I also thought it was better to show up at family gatherings, so I listened patiently to Dolores' sarcastic comments. Dolores, a coward that she is, would abuse me at times when Kyle and my father-in-law, Don, were not around. I am sure that after my husband had warned her before, she decided it was not a good idea to criticize me in front of him. I tried to ignore everything she was saying, but the harassment from Dolores was slowly taking a toll on my mind. Recently, my husband and I brought souvenirs from our trip to my parents-in-law's house, and Dolores would say something that made me very angry. Don had just gone out and was not home at the time, and my husband had gone to the bathroom. Dolores took advantage of this and began to abuse me verbally, as usual.
You really are a useless wife. Didn't your mother ever teach you how to do any house chores?
My mother taught me how to do house chores while she worked, you know. When I said this, being annoyed at what Dolores had said, she grinned and began to say this to me.
So, your mother wasn't a housewife, huh?
That explains why you do your house chores really terribly. By the way, what does your mother do for a living? I was getting angry, but tried to answer Dolores' question anyway. My mother has been working her part-time job. When I was about to continue on with my explanation, Dolores opened her eyes and shouted loudly, "Huh? A part-time job? What kind of poor family are you from?" "Excuse me?" "I didn't think that you were so poor that your mother had to do that. I wonder if she earns a few bucks every day by doing some small, tedious tasks like buttoning eyes onto a doll or something. Well, it's actually probably fitting that she's your mother. Well, it sucks to have a poor family like yours." Like this, Dolores laughed at my family and my mother and looked down on her. I couldn't forgive Dolores for insulting my precious mother, and it was then that I came up with a plan. I would definitely make Dolores regret for what she said about my mother and for making fun of my family. A month later, there was a family reunion and everyone gathered at my parents-in-law's house. This time, everyone gathered to celebrate my father-in-law's sister, Linda's birthday. Since Dawn had inherited their house from my late grandfather-in-law, it was easier for everyone to gather at Dawn and Dolores's house than at Linda's house, so it had become the place for all the relatives to gather. I had heard that Dolores truly respected and admired Linda very much. I wanted to take advantage of that and make Dolores feel embarrassed. "Maisie, my husband's sister is here today, so please behave and don't be rude." "Yes, I understand." Dolores was more enthusiastic than usual and took the initiative in preparing for Linda's birthday party. And because of this, Dolores was too busy to even bully me like she would normally. It was most likely that Dolores was more interested in making sure Linda's birthday was celebrated by many people. Then the preparations were over, and Linda and her husband and all the relatives came over to Dawn and Dolores's house. "Oh, Linda, happy birthday. This is your birthday present. Here you go." "Oh my, what a wonderful bag. Thank you, Dolores." Dolores looked really happy to be thanked by Linda like that. What Dolores gave Linda as her present was a luxurious brand bag. I greeted Linda after Dolores greeted her. "A long time no see, Linda. I'm Maisie, Kyle's wife." "Oh my, long time no see, dear. How have you been?" "I've been well, and every day living with Kyle has been fun. Thank you." "Happy birthday, Linda. If you'd like, please accept this birthday present from me." As I said this, I gave Linda my present, which I prepared for her. It was a leather card case. Seeing this, Dolores interrupted our conversation and began to panic. "Oh, Maisie, what kind of present are you giving to Linda?" "Excuse me?" "It's rude to give such a no-brand cheap thing as a present to Linda. You better hurry up and put it away now." Dolores raised her voice like that, which took me by surprise.
Hey, what are you talking about, Mom? It's too much to talk like that about something that Maisie went to the trouble of preparing.
"Kyle, please just shut up for today. It's Linda's birthday, so you have to give her something more appropriate." Like that, Dolores' selfish outbursts did not stop. Then, Linda began to say something that made Dolores shut her mouth. "Dolores, please shut your mouth." "Huh?" Saying that, Linda is taking a good look at the leather card case I gave her. This is very nice and a really good quality. As a leather goods buyer for many years, I have seen many other products, including brand name products, but this one is so carefully made and the design is so beautiful and exquisite. Who made this, Maisie? That person must be a very skilled craftsperson. I gave a huge grin, since I knew that this was going along with my whole plan. And then I proudly said this in front of Dolores and everyone else. This piece was made by my mother. Oh my, your mother? That is just amazing. Thank you so much. I'm sure that my mother would be very happy knowing that you're happy with it. Will you tell me your mother's name? My mother's name is Alberta Shaw. What? Could it be that your mother is that famous leather craftswoman, Mrs. Shaw? Yes, that's right. Linda looked at me all surprised as her eyes widened. I never thought I'd be able to get a piece from Mrs. Shaw. And I never would have guessed that my nephew's wife is her daughter. Wow, what a tremendous connection. Thank you so much. I will take very good care of this card case. Oh, no. I'm just really glad that you are happy with it. Dolores watched the conversation between Linda and I, and gradually her face was turning pale. Then Linda shifted her eyes to Dolores. Dolores, what were you doing earlier on?
Huh?
You were quite rude to Maisie, weren't you?
Oh, no.
Maisie, does Dolores always behave like this towards you? Since Linda had asked me that question, I nodded strongly as I answered. It seems that Dolores here does not like me at all, and she always picks on me, her own daughter-in-law, and lashes out at me in a terrible manner. What's more, she has also insulted my mother and my family by calling her poor. When I said this, all my relatives looked at Dolores really coldly. Oh, Dolores, what a trivial thing you're doing, bullying your own daughter-in-law.
Oh, no. That's all a misunderstanding. I don't bully or pick on Maisie.
Well, I know you're lying. You look really awkward and you have shifty eyes. I can easily imagine it from your attitude you just had towards Maisie just now. And I'm just really disappointed to hear that you're actually doing terrible things. I wouldn't be happy at all to receive a present from someone like that. So I'll just give this back to you. Saying this, Linda returned her present, which she received from Dolores earlier on. And seeing how everything had happened like this, Dolores was really disappointed at the situation and at how Linda, whom Dolores had really respected, has rejected her present. And both Dawn and Kyle were outraged when they learned that Dolores was bullying me. Hey, what's the meaning of this, Dolores? Oh, Mom, come on. Please, give me a break. Didn't you learn your lesson the last time I warned you? Dolores was blamed by everyone around her all at once, and she left the party quickly as if to escape from the situation. After that, my mind was in peace since Dolores left and Linda's birthday party went on and we all had a great time. Later, when Dolores came back home, She was supposedly scolded by Dawn. My father-in-law then told me,
If you ever get picked or bullied by Dolores again, I have already told her that I would divorce her if it happens again the next time. So don't hesitate and report to me, okay?
My husband also said,
The next time it happens, please make sure to tell me, honey.
and after that, Dolores came to me and said, I'm really sorry for being so horrible to you all this time. She also apologized for insulting my mother. I still haven't forgiven Dolores about what she said and what she did. But since Dawn and Kyle are both on my side, and that Dawn would divorce her if she ever bullies me again, well, I'll never know if she might bully me secretly like she did. I'm just going to let things play out for now and how Dolores would act. And now I will continue to live happily with my husband, getting along with him as I do normally. I think Dolores has dug her own grave in front of someone she respects as a result of bullying Maisie. And as a result, Linda rejected Dolores, and I felt better that Dolores got what she deserved. I'm also glad that Maisie had Dawn and Kyle on her side. I hope Maisie and her husband continue to get along and live happily ever after. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. See you in our next video.
Whose baby is that? I have azoospermia, you know? My husband shouted that at me just after I gave birth. Not understanding what was going on, I became flustered, but the nurse intervened. Please, don't give excessive stress to a woman after giving birth. I also think it's strange for someone to claim to have azoospermia right after childbirth. My name is Eve. I'm a 30-year-old office worker. It's been 4 years since I married my husband, Chris. We were leading a fairly happy married life. We both work and have stable income, and we share many hobbies and enjoy spending time together. However, there was one problem. We couldn't get pregnant. We wanted a child early on because my mother-in-law was urging us to have one. Whenever I visited my in-laws, my mother-in-law always talked about it, pressuring me.
Eve, are you close to having a child yet? The daughter of our neighbor had a baby boy last week, you know. We're really in trouble if you don't have a child soon.
I'm sorry, we're trying though. My mother-in-law gave me a scary look every time and glared at me. My father-in-law would stop her, but the pressure from my mother-in-law was quite heavy for me. I'm trying hard and even searched for information on the internet, but I couldn't get pregnant yet.
You are really a useless daughter-in-law, you know that?
My mother-in-law always berated me like that. I think part of the reason why it was difficult for me to get pregnant was because of the pressure from my mother-in-law.
It is about time you try infertility treatment, don't you think?
One day, my husband Chris said that to me. What do you mean I try? Don't talk like it's my fault.
But I know for sure that I'm not the cause of infertility.
What? That's ridiculous. First of all, why don't you get tested for infidelity too? It's not fair to just make me go through tests and treatments alone.
Why? I don't need it. I know for sure that I'm perfectly fine.
Despite my doubts about his behavior, I had been thinking that maybe there was a problem with one of us since we had been married for 3 years without any children. Still, my mother-in-law's excessive pressure and my husband's attitude remained the same. As my anxiety about whether or not I was infertile grew day by day, I became mentally overwhelmed. Then it happened. What? Is it true?
Yes, congratulations. You're pregnant.
My period had been unusually delayed, so I went to the OBGYN thinking maybe I was pregnant. Then the doctor told me that I was pregnant. At first, I couldn't believe it, but the test results clearly showed that I was carrying a life inside me. I felt an enormous sense of joy that I had never experienced in these past few years. And I immediately told my husband. At first, he was shocked, but he quickly became overjoyed.
Really? Well done, Eve.
Let's tell my parents right away. His smile and kind words increased my happiness. And as I expected, my mother-in-law were overjoyed when we went to tell them about my pregnancy.
Congratulations, Eve. Be sure to eat nutritious food and stay healthy. If you have anything difficult or need help, don't hesitate to tell me.
I felt really happy hearing these kind words from my mother-in-law, almost like it was the first time since we got married. My father-in-law was always a kind person, but when we announced the pregnancy, he was even more sweet than usual.
I'm sure a healthy child will be born. You've gone through a lot. I'm so happy to be able to see my grandchild's face.
I was happy to receive such positive reactions from my in-laws. I imagine they will be even kinder to me when the baby is born. I secretly hoped for this. In reality, my husband and mother-in-law were both incredibly kind to me since they found out about the pregnancy, almost like they were different people.
You don't have to do the dishes, Eve. I'll do it, so take the break.
Thank you, honey. That helps.
And make sure to take maternity leave early. And don't put too much strain on your body, okay?
Normally, my husband doesn't do much around the house. But now he's taken the initiative to help. And my mother-in-law even makes me lunch every day, which always surprises me. She has truly become a different person, being so kind to me. I was a bit confused by the change in my husband and mother-in-law's behavior, but there were many other difficult parts of my first pregnancy. I was grateful for their support and spent the pregnancy period with gratitude. I lost my mother 10 years ago and can't go back home to stay. My father never did any housework and left everything to my mother. For some reason, my mother loved my father so much that she worried about his life more than mine until the end. So even if I were to go back home, I would end up doing housework and wouldn't be able to relax. That's why it's so helpful that my mother-in-law does the housework and goes shopping for me. From then on, I made steady progress in preparing for the birth, and my morning sickness also started to subside. You're going to give birth soon, aren't you? Your husband and everyone else is looking forward to it, right? Yeah, they are. But their expectations are so high. Almost feels scary, you know. I'm still happy though. Oh yeah? Anyway, I'm happy that I can be involved in your childbirth as a nurse. I've been friends with Kat, a nurse, since high school, so I've been coming to this maternity hospital because of her. Having a trusted friend around for my first childbirth makes me feel at ease. Unlike before my pregnancy, I've built a good relationship with my in-laws. And I envisioned that I would continue to lead happy days after childbirth. However, my expectations would soon be shattered. The day finally came when I had labor pains. I immediately called my husband, but he didn't answer. Maybe because he was busy at work. I had told him that the due date was soon, so why wasn't he answering? I also called my mother-in-law, but she didn't answer either. What was happening with the two of them? Despite feeling uneasy, I reluctantly called a taxi and headed to the hospital enduring the pain of labor. When I arrived at the hospital, Kat rushed to my side. Are you okay? Take a deep breath and relax. I'm here for you. Don't worry, the doctor is also here. Let's give birth to a healthy baby. I was able to relax a little bit thanks to Kat. I didn't have time to contact my husband or mother-in-law anymore, and I went straight into the delivery room. After 4 hours later, I gave birth to a healthy baby girl. She was so cute. Even though I was exhausted from my first childbirth, I was moved by seeing my child for the first time. This was my child, and I thought she was the most beautiful thing in the world. I lifted her up, and I felt the greatest happiness I could imagine. It was at the highest of this happiness that my husband and mother-in-law arrived at the hospital room.
Chris, you finally came.
I feel relieved after seeing my husband's and mother-in-law's faces. I don't know why I couldn't get in touch with them, but I'm glad they came. The baby is so cute.
Here, hold her.
But even though I said that, my husband and mother-in-law didn't try to get close to the baby. What's wrong? When I asked that, my husband looked at me with contemptuous eyes and made a shocking statement.
Whose baby is this?
What? What are you talking about?
Of course it's your child. I have azoospermia.
What? What does that mean? My husband's sudden words left me confused just after I gave birth.
That means you must have cheated on me to have a child, right? After all, a child can't be born from me since I have azoospermia.
My husband yelled at me with incomprehensible words, and my mother-in-law joined in and blamed me.
I knew it. You really are a terrible wife.
I can't believe you would use my precious son like that.
Wait a minute, please.
What are you talking about? I don't understand. I was confused. And then Kat intervened. Hey, what are you guys doing? This is a hospital. Please be quiet.
Don't interfere. We're just trying to expose this woman's evil deeds.
My mother-in-law and husband tried to drive Kat away, but Kat didn't budge an inch. Please, don't give excessive stress to women after birth. Whatever the circumstances, how would you take responsibility if she were to lose her life by pushing her like that? Kat's words made the two of them a little shaken.
Who are you anyway? What are you saying?
Many women are prone to postpartum depression immediately after childbirth. We have a duty to protect women after childbirth. If you continue to cause her stress, you will have to leave from here. Besides, it's suspicious that you're claiming to have azoospermia right after childbirth, isn't it? Are you trying to lie about it and falsely accuse her here? Kat's words made my husband and mother-in-law extremely agitated.
It can't be true. That's right. How can you, a nurse, say such a thing?
I'm saying it because I'm a nurse. If you were truly azoospermic, wouldn't you have claimed that it wasn't your child when you found out she was pregnant?
Well...
My husband and mother-in-law stumbled over their words. In any case, would it be a clear indication of something fishy if you were trying to make advantage of this immediate postpartum period?
That's not true. Yeah. What are you even saying?
Well then, how about DNA test?
DNA test?
Yes. If you are infertile, a DNA test will prove that it's not your child. At that moment, my husband and mother-in-law had lost their momentum.
Anyway, this is not my child. I'm going to sue for compensation for the affair and won't acknowledge the child either.
I was too tired from childbirth to think straight through this sudden turn of events. Kat continued to take care of the situation for me. When claiming compensation for damages, isn't DNA test required? What do you think? In any case, it would cause her a lot of stress. So, please leave for now. When Kat firmly stated this, my husband and mother-in-law reluctantly agreed and left. After confirming that the two had left, Kat apologized to me.
I'm sorry, Eve. I spoke out of turn.
No, it's okay. I appreciate it, really. It was reassuring. Also, I think you were right. I'm sure he's having an affair. I'm convinced of it today. I'll investigate properly and fight back.
Yes. I'll help in any way I can.
Now, let's take it easy and rest.
Yeah, thanks. I truly thought it was good to have chosen the clinic where Kat worked.
After that, I ate a nutritious meal at the hospital and got better quickly. Then, as soon as I was discharged, I asked the detective agency to investigate my husband's infidelity. I didn't feel very excited until the investigation results came out, but I went home to my parents' house. Dad, it's been a while.
Oh, Eve, welcome home. It must have been tough to give birth. Well done. Sorry I couldn't go to the hospital because of work.
No, it's okay. To be honest, I had never really liked my father since I was a child. He was always a quiet person, and I never knew what he was thinking. But now that his first grandchild was born, I thought I should at least show him my daughter's face. In any case, I didn't want to go back to my in-laws. After that, I spent time with my daughter and father in my hometown. While waiting for the detective agency's investigation results, I consulted with a lawyer and prepared to fight back at any time. In the midst of all this, my husband and mother-in-law suddenly came to my parents' house.
Well, what seems to be the problem?
My father remained calm, even when the two of them came.
Rather, I don't think he understands why the two of them came because I didn't explain it properly. Hi, it's been a while, but your daughter is having an affair. I have azoospermia, so there is no way I could have children. But she insisted that it was my child. I wouldn't demand compensation if she agrees to a fair division of property.
My father looked at my husband skeptically, who was weaving such groundless lies. I was more mentally worried that my father may side with my husband and mother-in-law because he is an old-fashioned person. Then my father said,
"Please leave." Huh? My daughter would never do such a thing. Please, leave now. Hey, did you listen to what I just said? I have azoospermia, so it's strange that Eve got pregnant. Then, why not do a DNA test? I think it's strange to claim that you can't have children without showing any evidence. I'm trying to settle this peacefully. Can you see that?
My father may have been unable to control himself. He ended up glaring at my husband and mother-in-law with an angry expression.
This is not a place for liars like you to come.
Scared by my father's outburst, my husband and mother-in-law quickly fled from the place. Dad, thank you for protecting me.
Don't worry about it. I just don't like noisy situations.
Do you believe in me?
Of course, you're my daughter. You're such a good-natured kid, so there's no way you would do something like that.
I couldn't stop crying at my father's unexpected words. I was so happy that he believed in me unconditionally. It was the moment when the wall I had created towards my father disappeared all at once. Afterwards, the investigation by a private investigator revealed that my husband was having an affair. I filed for divorce and demanded compensation through a lawyer, and even had a DNA test conducted on my husband. At first, my husband resisted, but my father-in-law, who had heard about it, forced him to undergo the test. It was confirmed that my child was undoubtedly my husband's. It turned out that my husband had claimed to have azoospermia and was trying to divorce me on the grounds of my fault, and was planning to be with his mistress. The compensation was surprisingly high because the contents of his lies were malicious. I was grateful to have as much money as possible to raise my child. My husband was disowned by his father due to this incident, and his father apparently divorced his mother and kicked her out of the house. Seems like he had been considering divorce due to her lack of consideration and selfish personality. My father-in-law told me that this incident was the trigger for him to finally take the step towards divorce. My ex-husband had apparently been supporting his mother, who had moved in with him and was heavily in debt. He had been dumped by his mistress early on because of the whole situation. But he still had to continue paying off the debts, and now he was living a poor life while being mentally exhausted. On the other hand, I returned to my parents' house and raised my daughter while living with my father. As I got to know my father's personality better, I completely lost the feeling of being uncomfortable around him. My father, who I thought was quiet and demeaning, was actually a person who just had a strong sense of justice and trusted his family. Seeing my father smiling while playing with his granddaughter naturally makes me smile to my ears. Surely, my mother in heaven is also watching over us as we face our life's turning points. Kat comes to visit me regularly, and we help each other as the best friends. I think I will continue to live with the support of the people around me. In order to repay their kindness and raise my daughter well, I will work hard.